Hello, sanibonani molweni Mzansi Africa. Welcome to the show. Qonde kaloku umbukela into yokubana eli liqonga lakho njengomntu ontshinto yokubana uzityande igila expressions. It is, well, following the recent ANC Youth League conference. Collen Malatji is the current president of the African National Congress Youth League, a position he was elected at the League's 2023 conference. Sithi alala kuye ntinga ntakandini uyawunqandwa zinkwenkwezi. Unombuzo siwubuzayo apha ekhaya as a young person ongagungqiyo kukuba, should young people have faith in the new ANC Youth League leadership? Njimlo ke ukhalosa kalubisi uMandla ngothi, li alright?
Ndaphilo njani mnasi?
Uyazazi into yoba usisnow survivor. Uphume usafe.
Safe, so kwasiqinisekise ke into kokuba nawe mbukeli usafe. Well, ngatsho Mzansi Africa, hello Ayamuli Mavomisa, and it's great to have you with us right here on Expressions. And now as Expressions, we went straight to the ground to hear from the young people on the streets. Our poll question for the day: should young people perhaps really have faith in the new African National Congress Youth League leadership? Well, this is what they had to say.
The ANC is a government that we know that has served the young people of this country. We still have hope in the ANC.
Sifuna umsebenzi and umsebenzi asuthola permanent. Uma nje ngecontract angazi nokuthi masiphelile contract sizowenza njani.
ANC Youth League with Malatji at the helm, I think we are going places.
Anginalo ithemba kwaphela because si-youth sidinga umsebenzi and apha ngaphandle khona osisi bethu nobhuti bethu abafundile abaphethe certificate kodwa bakwazi ukuthi bafumane umsebenzi.
You know, the ANC has failed us in so many ways. I don't see any improvement. I don't hear anything about the Youth League or whatsoever.
Abantwana baninzi abahlele lokishini abangaphangeliyo, so maba speed up leyo process please imisebenzi.
Education indeed is the PowerPoint of this country, and if that can get addressed, then we're moving forward. So yes, and definitely ANC will take us somewhere.
Baningi abantu abahlele emakhaya abasebenzi noma befuna ukuvula amabhizinisi imali azikho.
We want to see these comrades coming out with new ideas. That is what we lack as the youth of this country.
I wish that they can put us more in charge. We don't have to be in control, but then we have to be in the know of the things that are happening around us, because frankly speaking, asazi next.
Well, contrasting views are there from the people on the street, really talking about izinto that they are still faced with, particularly as abantu abatsha. But now, to of course help you unpack this discussion a little bit further, I have the honor and pleasure of being joined in studio namhlanje by Autonomy, who is of course the Secretary General of the African National Congress Youth League, and of course also Nicoline Trom is joining us, and she is an activist. Lady and gent, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for being here.
I think perhaps let me start with you, Buti Mduwaqolongudle. Firstly, congratulations after 8 years of not having the conference, and finally at ANCYL, and Collen Malatji emerged as the president of the African National Congress Youth League. Perhaps what is it that you as the Youth League are going to do differently this time around?
Look, our program is geared around massive skills revolution. That we must industrialize the South African economy for it to create jobs. We were also proposing something that was not done, of export quotas. We're saying with the mineral resources that we have as South Africa, let's now introduce export quotas of raw materials so that we can be able to ensure that we attract the much needed investments in South Africa for value addition to create industries in the manufacturing sectors of the economy, what we call productive sectors of the economy, so that we can create jobs, because you can't create jobs if you have no industrialized economy. So we are saying let's do import replacement industrialization so that we can be able to create jobs. Young people are loitering on the streets in townships and in rural areas because we have not industrialized the economy.
I like the fact that you say we. So by we, you're talking about the African
I'm talking about the African National Congress, which is in government. That's what we're bringing. We're bringing new ideas to the African National Congress.
Perhaps Ngodle, a viewer may beg to differ with that, because if you've been at the helm for more than the 20 years as the African National Congress in government, and uti into kokubana ngoku you are going to implement this new strategy, perhaps all these years, where has it been?
The issue here is about the economic policies that would have been there. That's why we're talking about economic freedom now. And you would understand that post-1994, the concentration was about doing reconciliation of the country, peacekeeping, all of that, so that there could be a reconstruction of a new country called South Africa. This country called South Africa, people think that it has always been there as it is now. It has not always been there as it is now. So the whole nation-building project was saying, we've passed that phase. People now are hungry, they are without jobs, and we need to do something about the economy. And that's why we say the struggle we can't postpone is the struggle for economic emancipation of particularly black Africans who are in the margins of economic participation.
All right, we shall elaborate on that a little bit further on. I mean, Nicolina, I can see Buso Bako Nkangeleko is not really promising. Perhaps let's start here. What's your analysis and perhaps a post-mortem of the recently held ANC conference, Youth League One?
It took them 8 years to come up with what he's saying now. And I think we do know that it is just a strategy for them to gear votes for the following
elections.
year. And I'm not surprised, because then the question is, what philosophy binds them? What informs their thoughts, their speech, their actions into taking up what he's saying that is lacking in the country? Because I don't think they are aware what the problem of the country is. And I'll put it to them right now that our problems in the country hails from a system that threats on our humanity. What informs us? What informs our philosophy, our principles? The problem is the human character and human behavior, which is what they are feeding from. The ANC as a whole, it can surely not take them 30 years not to reconcile the country and reconstruct the country. 30 years is quite a huge number of years, of which they had shown us the failures of not only ANC, but the failures of a black person. And that's the problem that we are having as the society.
Okay, all right. I think let's pause it there for that particular aspect of the conversation. Now, I want to bring in something recent that transpired, the VIP assault on young people, those attacks by Paul Mashatile's bodyguards. Perhaps, don't you think a statement condemning those attacks, because apparently the victims, allegedly, they were young people. So don't you think from your side as the Youth League, you should have condemned those attacks with a statement?
Look, the assaults were so unfortunate. We would have expressed that, but you would know that the Youth League, when the ANC has already spoken on a matter, because the ANC quickly spoke on the matter, condemned it, called it off, it says it's wrong, it should not be done. So we expressed ourselves through the mother body, because we then would have engaged the ANC about this particular incident.
But then where would be the autonomy in that then?
Look, we are an autonomous organization, but an integral part of the ANC. We raise issues internally first when we see that these are wrong elements now that we don't need in society. So we would have raised with the ANC and it called it out. The Secretary General spoke on the matter. There is no need for us to be repeating the same thing that has been said. You know, if the ANC would not have spoken on time on the matter, we would have raised the matter sharply.
Okay, all right. Do you believe what he's saying?
Oh, no. No, not at all. They couldn't call out a matter that happened a few days before the conference. And yet they could call out a matter that happened 10 years ago. They came out with guns firing at Julius Malema. It was irrelevant. They could have spoken on the current issues, current matters, the police and the police shooting each other at Braamfontein. It just goes to show that we are a country that is in the hands of trigger-happy beings. We are a country that is governed by violence. So them as the Youth League, what is it that they are bringing new in order for us to change the status quo of our country? And we should not be seen like a war zone country. So him saying what he is saying, it is just an excuse. If they could speak about what Julius Malema did 10 years ago, why could they not speak about what happened?
All right, all right. Well, interesting views. There you have it from, of course, Nicolene and Duakolo joining me in studio. But for now, let's quickly go to an ad break. Stay with us right on Expressions.
Welcome back. You are still watching Expressions right here on SABC1. We are still talking about the newly elected president of the ANC Youth League. Make sure that you do interact with us on our social media platforms. Siyabuza, should young people have faith in the new ANC Youth League leadership? Well, to help me unpack this discussion in studio, I'm joined by Jamie Mighty, who is a political analyst. Jamie, welcome to the show, all right? We've just witnessed a young leader who is elected as the president. Do you feel that this will re-inspire young people to take part in politics? And also, do you think that, he will win the confidence of young people?
Well, that depends on how they channel their communications. We know that only 200,000 young people between the ages of 18 and 19 are registered to vote, and only 3.9 million between the ages of 20 to 30 are registered to vote, about 33% of the population. So if you look at the president of the Youth League's Twitter account, he has a very low following. I went to check today. He's got about 14.9 thousand followers, right? And they want to attract millions of young voters. I thought maybe Twitter is unfair. Let me go check his Instagram, as a channel of communicating with young people digitally. On Instagram, he has about 3,000 followers. So I went to check the other leaders as well, just to see, do they have a digital footprint to be able to reach out to young people and communicate with them where they are? I went to check whether there's an ANC Youth League TikTok account. Do they have threads? Zero. Dololo. So it's a challenge from a communication perspective. So that's number one. Number two is the credibility question. Will they have credibility? The best way I can put it like this: if you have Maporisa and you've got Kabza, and Kabza is the Youth League of Maporisa, if Maporisa starts making bad music, it's very difficult for Kabza to say, I am Maporisa, we are bad, right? Because of the relationship that they have. Now, I've listened to the first Youth League speaker here trying to communicate that we believe in skills, we want to do benefication, we want to do manufacturing. Part of the challenges with the current economic design are because of the ideological framework of the current leadership. The president doesn't agree with the economic philosophies of this Youth League. So even though they are saying economic freedom or death or something to that effect, the question then becomes, is your economic vision, is your vision of the Reserve Bank the same as the president's vision of the Reserve Bank? Because you are going to go to a young person and say, vote for us, but my president disagrees with what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. You speak about digital representation, and the current target that they have is about 30% of young people who are represented in the parliament. Would you say that they have failed dismally? And do you think maybe, their vision of seeing young people taking power in the corridors, will it manifest?
Well, the first thing we have to ask ourselves, the president of the ANC Youth League is already in parliament. Has he been making impact, right? You've got former Fees Must Fall leaders who are in parliament. In fact, the chairperson of the Higher Education Committee, Nompendulo Mkachwa, is actually a Youth League alumni, if you will. But right now, young people are saying that their NSFAS was cancelled. They're saying that they don't have access to universities, they don't have access to TVETs. So they're not doing well with the seats they have already.
Let's talk about the pressing matters that young people are facing. One of the speakers from the ANC Youth League spoke about economic emancipation. Are we really seeing that? Because when we look at inamba yabana bacha bangasebenziyo, it's so high. We're seeing young people abana misebenzi, the GBV, the education sector, it seems to be dismally failing. Do you think, uzawukwazi into yokubana ajongane nemiba that young people are facing?
No, I don't think so, and I haven't heard a conversation to that effect even now. Right now, if you were to look at the maths pass mark in Eastern Cape, only 16% of students in Eastern Cape got over 50%, and only 18% in Limpopo. So if you're trying to address the skills shortage, if you're trying to create the employment that they're talking about, you also have to talk about the quality of education. They're very weak on that because, again, ukabza angeka soluma poris.
And Nicolene on the desk also touched about, the strategy now that we are heading on the 2024 elections. But ngaphambi koba ngenxa yexesha nje we have to take a quick break. But owona mbuzo mbukeli esiwubuzayo apha ekhaya ongagunqiyo is, should young people really be inspired that now we have a young leader as part of the ANC Youth League? What do you have to say about this discussion? Let's take a quick break. Do not move a muscle. We'll be right back after this.
And of course, welcome back right here on SABC. One of this is Expressions, and it's most certainly the platform for you as Umdomcha to air your views. Now, of course, we are asking you, namhlanje as Expressions rather, should young people have faith in the new African National Congress Youth League leadership that just recently emerged at the recent conference that was held? So still joining me is, of course, Collen Malatji, who is the SG of the ANCYL, and, of course, Nicolene, who is an activist. So many questions to get through. So perhaps let's start here. If you can, as the Secretary General of the Youth League, speak on behalf of your president, Collen Malatji. He was an MP deployed by the ANC mother body since 2018. So is he going to relinquish those duties now that he's president?
There is an internal discussion about that. Remember, the parliament is also a site of struggle. So we have an internal discussion whether the president should remain in parliament or out of parliament. But the youth voice, and a very consolidated youth voice of an elected leader, is also needed in parliament to express the interests, the aspirations of young people inside parliament. That's a terrain of struggle. So we're having an internal discussion. When we have concluded on it, we'll pronounce ourselves. Okay, so are you saying that there are no young people in the parliament from the African National Congress, so hence he should still be there? Of course they are, but remember the president of the ANC Youth League is the actual voice of the organization. Okay. So when he is there formidably, we are discussing whether we should deploy him or other elected leaders inside parliament. Okay. That discussion, when it's concluded, like I'm saying, we're going to pronounce ourselves. Okay, I want to come back to you, Nicolene, with your response to that, but perhaps let's get here. Allegations of interference by the SG of the mother body in the conference because they probably want to, dominate the factions that are there within the Youth League. So do you think the Youth League is really autonomous, or perhaps the factions? I know you will say it's autonomous. Look, the ANC Youth League has not been there for 8 years in terms of a formally elected National Executive Committee. For 8 years, since 2015. Now, many people do not know really how to convene a national conference. And the ANC would have assisted the youth to convene its own congress. Now, other people who have no knowledge about how to convene a congress of the Youth League would make allegations that are unfounded. There was never an interference in that particular process. People were elected in branches all over the country, nominated to be part of the National Executive Committee, and those that would make the cut made the cut. Those that could not did not make the cut. But there were lots of interest, of course, after 8 years. Now, a narrative that the SG would have interfered is rather unfounded. So are you saying that the NYTT member, Uxola, was dismissed in a right way? No, definitely. You went rogue in a process of organizing a very important congress of the ANC Youth League. You can't go and address bogus structures and expect that there will be no action against you. He was never suspended. He was withdrawn because he was appointed.
Okay.
Withdrawn from duties that he was given, which he did not do right.
All right, Nicolene, perhaps as we near the end of this really important conversation, what do you think should still be done by the Youth League so that they can be really advance and better the lives of young people, if probably you still have faith in them?
If the Youth League were to be found in the communities where the gist of the matter is, where you actually have an experience of what the communities, what the youth is going through at face value. The president, the newly elected president, has been in the parliament, in the boardroom where matters are discussed. They don't know what's going on. The high teenage pregnancy, the gender-based violence, the substance abuse, the nyaupes, the sex workers, that things that are really affecting the youth. And if we're not tackling it and we tiptoeing around the matter and discuss it in the boardrooms and not really go to where it is, where the relevancy is.
Let's get to the gist of the matter. Well, pardon me for cutting you there because I'm running short on time. So your last word, Nduwoxolo, as the representative of the Youth League and ANC in general, as we wrap this up, should young people still have confidence in you?
Definitely. We're calling for all young people to rejoin the Youth League. It now has the leadership that has capacity to deal with all matters that relate to youth interest. I mean, the leadership that has been elected is quite very experienced. You would know that the president of the Youth League now is a former president of COSAS. On education issues, he has been an activist almost for all of his life, on education issues. So I have been leading the youth structures in a very remote and rural area in the Eastern Cape. So I understand the interest, the aspiration of rural youth. You see, so the blend of this leadership has got all the necessary experience and it comes from different backgrounds.
Okay, well, unfortunately, because of time, we're going to have to cut it right there. Well, that was Nduwoxolo, who is the SG of the ANCYL, and Nicolene Trom, who is an activist. Kolo, rather. That's how we wrap it.
Yes, we wrap it, and we are grateful as expressions that we created a platform for you as a young person. Bana ucho izimvo zako. Right about now, Sinshia Naye Osnolisa, take it away.
Coming